if you think about it, you can't do a whole lot laying in a hospital bed or laying in a room on your back all day.
If you can create memories with people that have like and similar thought processes and meet some more people that are just like you, what a great thing to have happen to you.
What would you do right now if you never had to do anything again? Money was no object.
Hey everyone, Mike Koenigs here. Welcome to another episode of Capability Amplifier. I am here today with Brian Sweet and Brittany Anderson from my home state of Minnesota. What do you say?
That's right. Glad to hook up with a fellow Minnesotan.
That's right.
So excited to be here.
What's your idea of a life of no regrets? I think it's to live a vibrant, pain-free, mobile life where you're never a burden and to have created enough wealth that you live a life of freedom filled with want-tos and not have-tos, and to have achieved a life of purpose and fulfillment with deep, meaningful relationships, deep family connections, and a career that gets you jumping out of bed every morning. And that's creating a life you can't wait to wake up to. And it also means fulfilling every checkbox on your bucket list, as Dan Sullivan would say, on your positive moving future bucket list. And that's filled with incredible memories, connections, and knowing that everything you've done can be passed on to your children with the least amount of bureaucratic and government intervention, meaning they take less from you, right? And that every charity you've ever wanted to support is funded, and being able to see the impact from your contribution now while continuing to live a life of purpose and happiness. And I think that's what everyone I know is looking for. So as I mentioned, my guests today are the dream architects, Brittany Anderson and Brian Sweet, and collectively they spent over 50 years in the world of wealth management and life fulfillment, quickly approaching $1 billion under advisement and over 1,100 clients. Now, here's what this episode's all about. They've developed an extraordinarily effective system, a collaborative experience that is built on top of their highest net worth billionaire clients and connections. And they've brought it to groups who have assets below, that's one group, and then above $10 million. So personally, I've found immersive experiences to be my favorite way to get more done in life, meet awesome people, and deepen relationships. And here's proof. I originally met and got introduced to Brittany and Brian over 6 years ago at Genius Network, and Brian has been in Strategic Coach for 23 years. And I've also had the opportunity to speak at his EWAS event, which is filled with some of the most successful and effective financial advisors and wealth managers in the country. Now, between the two of them, they've seen a lot of people who've made a lot of money, and they've figured out a way to make sure that they're actually happy. So what we're going to talk about is really the big secret. And so I think the best way to start today is if you're going to summarize your 43. So Brian's 43 and Brittany's 14 years in the business. How would you do that?
Well, I think the best way to do that, Mike, would actually be by telling a story.
All right, go for it.
And the story relates to a client we've had for a number of years. And before this current version of the Dream Architect, we used to create dream boards for clients. Mm-hmm. And we had this client that went through it, and we created this dream board, and they so much liked this process that they took it with them on every trip. And every time they did something on their dream board, they would take a picture of it, send it to us and the team, and kind of show off, we've got one checked off the list again. And why that's so impactful and why the Dream Architect process has developed the way that it has is that over time, what happened is this particular client, his wife got sick. Mm-hmm. And at a very early age in the 70s, created a condition where she really wasn't able to do a lot of things. But because they were so proactive in addressing all of the things that were important to them on that board that they created, mm-hmm. they didn't have any regrets because everything was checked off when she got to the point where she wasn't able to actually do those things. Now, fortunately, her health came back and she's doing fine today. But what if it wouldn't have? Mm-hmm. You know, she's now in a position where she can say, I'm sure glad I did versus I wish I had.
Brittany, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, when I think about the creation of a bucket list or a dream board or anything along those lines, the experience that they went through leading up to this was so much more than that. It was about the defining of purpose. It was about getting clear on the legacy that they want to leave and bringing this whole entire thing full circle so that they felt going into their future, it wasn't just about checking things off the bucket list. It was so much more than that. It was a life of fulfillment. It was about, that understanding of knowing what they came from and then knowing now what they're going to. They'd already accumulated wealth. They knew what it meant to create success. They knew what it meant to build a really full life. But then how do you take that a step further? And I think that's what made their experience in particular so much fun, is because they embodied it all.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing to pull out of that, is that it's more than just a couple experiences. It's a full life.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally agree.
Yep. Well, and it's the last thing you want is a wake up call, or if you're on the retire and die program, how do you put it? Brian, you've got this funny line about Oprah reruns. How's that go?
Well, when you retire and, you kind of run out of things to do, so you just sit around and watch Oprah reruns, and there's only so many of those that you can do before you get pretty bored.
Yeah. Right. No, for sure. Well, maybe the next thing I wanted to ask is, we're going to get into the structure, the framework that you guys have built, but I'd love to know a little bit about your backstory, how you got into the business in the first place. I always like to start with, what's your why? What got you here? And I think that's really a good symbol of character, and it'll fit into a little bit later on. You guys have something strange in common with one another. It's not that strange, I guess, but it'll be even more meaningful when we get into the framework that we're going to reveal. And I think the big reveal, which is what you guys have figured out how to do after serving so many people so long, seeing the math, seeing the formula, and really genuinely knowing who's happy and why, and what makes them happy, and being able to aggregate that all in one place. So that's really the big takeaway. Oh, and by the way, they've got this awesome book they're going to be giving away at the end of the episode, which is Dream Architecture, and it's really about the framework of their system. So with that, let's start with a little bit of a backstory. Who first? Who's going to go? I guess
ladies first.
Oh, okay. All right, go for it.
All right. Well, I'll start by saying this. My role at the company, and I want to give this for context as I go into the why. My role at the company has really been to bring the team together to create a culture that supports the notion of the dream architect and helps people embrace possibility so that they can actually help the people that Brian was just talking about live this fulfillment. So when I back into this and say, why does that matter to me? And why is this important to me? So I grew up in a single parent household. Parents divorced when I was 4. And I remember a pivotal point in my life where I was about 8 years old, and my mom is sitting on her bed. I peeked in there and she's got bills spread out everywhere. She had her checkbook in front of her and she's crying. And she, at that age, I knew as a young kid that she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to pay the mortgage and also put food on the table and pay the utilities and all those things that we know we have responsibilities around. So I looked at that and said, number one, I never want to be in a position like that. Number two, I don't want anybody else's choices to negatively impact me. So it was that moment where I said, I want to take control of my life. I want to surround myself with great people who embrace possibility and who see opportunity even in the darkest of times. So when I look at my role now and what we're building and what we're creating, that's really where it fosters from. It's creating opportunity where, you may not be able to find it when you look at it face level. Yeah,
that's brilliant. And I think what really hooked me, and the reason I wanted to interview you guys, is because there aren't a lot of wealth managers, financial firms that lean in beyond and really talk about possibilities. And both of you are infinitely coachable. After all, you're in great coaching programs. That's how we met in the first place. But you really think outside the box, and you've figured out a way, again, to just build a completely different model I haven't seen done before. So, Brian, backstory.
Well, maybe the reason Brittany and I resonate so well together, our stories are very similar. I also come from a single parent family. My mom got divorced when I was 3. I only saw my dad one time while I was growing up, and that happened to be at his mom's funeral, which he happened to leave early from. So you can kind of tell what kind of person he was. But the fortunate thing that I am so forever grateful for is that my dad's sister kind of took over, and her husband, Gene and Roy were their names, took over some responsibility, and I was able to spend summers with them. And one of the things, or a couple of the things that they taught me, Gene was a high school principal.
Yep.
And so she taught me the benefits of lifetime learning and education. So I think one of the reasons I'm like a coaching junkie and I go to all these things is because I learned that from her.
That's
In
awesome.
addition to that, Roy was this gregarious business owner who everybody adored him. He ran an amazing business, and I watched how people were drawn in attention to him when he walked into a room. And I said, well, if I'm ever a business owner, these must be key things to lead to success. So I give them credit for those two aspects. And then also my mom, sacrificed and did things. And so it's just been a great combination that taught me, you can do more than you're initially given. And it's all up to you to, make it happen.
Right on. Well, and one thing that, I was talking to Howard Getson about you guys a couple days ago, and he just said, Brian's the relationship guy, and then Brittany's the brains of the operation.
So
Whereas
true.
you like to joke.
I'll send him my check later.
Yeah. It's well done, Howard. As you were joking right before you start rolling camera. Beauty and the Beast. There we go. So well done, sir. Well done. All right. And I think, Brittany, you had one other big idea that really is a clear differentiator, and then we'll just dive into the meat here.
Yeah. When you think about all of the stuff that we're talking about, we're really in the memory creating business. And it's not just about pushing around a bunch of numbers. Brian talks about being gregarious, and we really embody that in the culture as well. One of the things that we did for the client that we talked about earlier is we created a Ladies of Sweet financial calendar.
Woo!
Now, I'll preface this by saying it was completely appropriate, so watch your P's and Q's here.
Yeah.
But no, it was so fun. We all had silly poses and just highlighted the personalities of the team members, and that was a deliverable that we gave to these people who all of a sudden weren't just traveling with their dream board, they were traveling with the calendar.
Woo-hoo!
And the wife loved it as much as the husband.
So smart. Yeah. Well, it's totally out of the box. And Brian actually showed it to me once, and I was like, what in the hell? I didn't get it at first because I didn't know the backstory, but then now I'm like, oh, okay, now it all clicked. But well done.
So great.
All right. Well, with that, let's talk a little bit about the pillars. So again, just to reframe this, you've been doing this a long time collectively and seeing a lot of people, and you've broken down like the 5 core pillars. So I want to go through the 5. I think the 5th one is my favorite one personally, for a variety of reasons that'll become absolutely obvious. And then it's what you've done with it. That's super, super cool. So who wants to begin?
Yeah, I can take this, and Brian obviously interject. So 5 pillars. Obviously, we have the wealth because it's where we've been, it's what we've known, it's what we've ate, slept, and breathed. But there's so much more to wealth than just basic wealth management. That term is so boring. We've talked about that before, Mike, too. So it's really bringing new ideas and creative concepts to the table. Second pillar is purpose. And this is a big one because you can have a life of purpose, a life of meaning, an identity tied to that. And then all of a sudden you get to this point where you're going, wait, what's next and what's the purpose for me? Pillar number 3, you're looking at health and longevity. This is a hot topic. I mean, there are experts and brilliant people out there that are talking about age reversal, things that your doctors aren't talking to you about. You've got legacy. And again, legacy means so many different things to so many different people. It's not just make sure you have the right estate planning attorney or make sure you have your documents in place. It's understanding, what you want to be a part of while you're still here and that meaning that you get to see come to fruition. And then finally, you've got, which I think you said is your favorite, the experiences. It's about so much more than just taking a fun trip and, checking some locations off. It's creating immersions, and it's being around other people that are like-minded, and that relationships and the collaborations and just the great things that can happen.
Okay. What else?
Well, having been in the business for a long time, 43 years, it's kind of natural that you saw things happen that you wish wouldn't have happened. And so consequently, over the years, we've just said, well, if there's something we could do that would help eliminate some stress, frustration, lack of results, we should try and offer that to our clients. So the other four pillars, the purpose and legacy and health and longevity and experiences, were those four that we continuously saw as so important in having a life that you'd never regret. And so that's really where it came from.
Awesome. So one of the things that we also talked about is I wanted to begin with a little bit of a story when we talk about each one of these. I think that's the relevant side. And also, I had asked you this before we recorded to do some prep. So I call it the want, need, get. Because again, I love marketing. I love statistics. I love to know how people think. So I really was curious if you summarized all the wants people have in each of the 5 categories, what are they? Like, what shows up all the time? And then versus what do they need? We sell people what they want, we give them what they need. And then what do they actually get? Because the takeaways are just as important. And one thing that we really dove deep into as we were preparing for this is most high net worth people that you and I have worked with, they want what they want the way they want it when they want it, right? It's sort of like, just give me, it's like deliver me the baby, as the old saying goes. And so with that, I just want to pre-frame this a little bit, because that way we can just kind of zip through. And again, I'm really curious what the majority of the people you've been working with, especially the ultra high net worth, say they want when they walk in the door. So I know one of you had a really cool opening story to frame up well. So let's go there.
Yeah, well, I'll start with that. This is not a story about some ultra high net worth client, but it's a very realistic story that I think everybody can relate to. And it's one of our long-term clients that happens to be 48 today. And he started a long time ago. He had some vision from his parents and some great guidance that when I'm able to get a job, and he happens to be an electrician, that I need to start planning now so that everything that I ever desire in life, I can make sure it happens when I want it to happen. And we created this plan probably 25 or so years ago, maybe 30. And it's been remarkable in that when he comes into the office, he still has this crumpled up illustration of what we created and what he would have if he did these different things that he pulls out. Pretty soon we're going to have to make copies of it because it's getting kind of worn. But he is way over where he ever would be. And now he's in a position at a fairly young age at 48 that he literally can do everything and anything that he desires. And it was just simply following a plan, sticking to it, and making sure that what's important to him was actually taken care of. And it's just a great example that anybody can do this. And so I'm just really proud of him and the results. And he's, one of our biggest supporters just because his results have been so great. But it's all because of his discipline.
Okay. And one of the things that you did in the background before we started the interview today, tell the story about what we're going to show in the video version of the podcast.
Yeah, so Mr. Sweet himself reached out to this gentleman we're talking about, and actually we're getting a full copy of the actual piece of paper. So this is before, everything was fancy and everything was in your computer. This is like chicken scratch on a piece of paper that he's carried around forever. So we're going to show that.
It's awesome. 25-year, basically a financial blueprint.
Yeah. Or what you would call that 25 years ago.
Yeah.
They look a little better today.
Right on. It's awesome. And so I think... well, I'm going to let you go, But that's really cool that you had so much impact on someone who took it, did it. And if you were going to guess right now what his net worth is now compared to what it was estimated to be, do you have any?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere 40 or 50% ahead of what he projected, because we tend to be a little conservative in our assumptions. But you made me think, Mike, he was just in recently, and he's so good about keeping us informed of things that he's doing. And he was just telling us he had this remarkable vacation that he went on. He took his wife and kids. They went down south. They stayed in this really luxurious VRBO. It had a dock out. They, had crab pots out there, and he was just so excited. His face would light up when he explains it, and that brings such joy when somebody's able to do that, and it's so rewarding to us when we hear those stories.
That's awesome. Well, I wonder if his crab was as good as the crab you and I had last night.
No way. No way.
That's awesome. All right. So let's go through the want, need, get. Let's talk about wealth, want, need, get. What? Ken, give me some data here.
Yeah. When you think about the ultra high net worth and, people who are really trying to create fulfillment for their future in regards to their wealth, they want security. They're looking for unique opportunities to invest. They're looking for uniformity with their long-term plan. What they actually need, they need coordination amongst their advisors. All too often, people are kind of living in silos. They need everybody to talk to each other to really be that quarterback plus the team. They need proactive tax planning. That's something, Brian, I know that you talk about all the time with clients. There's so much opportunity there. And really what they end up getting is a blueprint. So we talk about the client that Brian's referencing who has this piece of paper. They get something that's so much deeper than that. They get something that they can actually take action on and see continual progress. They get coordination. They get, minimized taxes, and you would hope to maximize their opportunity or potential for a return. And I think the thing that's the biggest is the truth. People, especially in today's world that we're in, people are searching for truth. And that's what they're getting when you look at, creating that engagement, creating that deeper relationship. They have somebody that they can lean on and trust and count on to show up for them.
That's awesome. One thing that I was thinking about this morning when I was preparing for this interview is, Fairmont, Minnesota is a tiny, tiny, tiny little town. Okay.
Amen.
I grew up in a tiny, tiny town in Minnesota where it's rural, and the very notion, the possibility that advisory firm could have almost $1 billion under assets seems impossible to me. And so if anyone wants to point to a reason why, it's something as simple as that. It's just, I can't remember if I told you this, Brian, but we were joking about my dad, Bernie the barber. Like you and him are a lot alike. It's sort of like you go to the neighborhood barber who's going to tell you the truth. But I know you just picked up that mic. You got something to say. What do you got to say?
I really don't. I was just waiting to see if I should throw in a comment there. But
yeah,
I very much can feel very comfortable with Bernie the barber, mentality.
Yeah. All right. So there's something else that I wanted to add here, which was you recently became independent. And how does that affect the kind of deals, the kind of investment opportunities that you make available to your clients? How much larger is the opportunity window, we'll say? Yeah,
I'll maybe start with that, Brittany, and you please jump in. So having done this a long time, what we realized that to truly deliver all of the things that our clients deserve, we needed to get truly independent. So last year we made the decision to make that a big change, but it allows us to really represent the client in a full fiduciary capacity that we didn't have the ability. And so anything that's available, any services, it totally allows us to build this Dream Architect platform. And it's just been almost life-changing what we've been able to add and do extra for clients. And so it's been a great thing. Any other comments, Brittany?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is just the ability to really customize. And, when you look at a high net worth individual, while there's kind of a general underlying theme of the wants, the needs, like we've talked about, they also want to feel like it's customized towards them. So this opened that door wide open for us.
That's awesome. Okay. So what's column number 2? Pillar number 2.
Pillar number 2 is purpose. Let's keep with the P theme today. This is, I think about, when we look at our high net worth relationships and, the $1 billion families, a lot of times what's happened is they've checked a lot of those boxes off. That's what's happened over time. Now they're looking at kind of the what's next, and that's often in passing to a third or even a fourth generation. So it's being able to say, what is maybe significance? What's more mean to me? What does that next step look like? So I want to go back through kind of that want, need, and then get the theme that we're talking about here. When you think about that passing of generation, you've had the first person that took it so far. And Mike, we talked about this too, leading up to this conversation. You get the first generation that takes it so far, the next generation that has new innovative ideas that takes it next level, 10x, 20x, 100x.
Right. So it might be like 0 to 10 million, generation 1, 10 to 100, generation 2, generation 3, it could be 100 to a billion, etc.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So what happens then is this handoff occurs and people are looking at, okay, well, I've done that. I'm instilling the values. I'm instilling the core. What are we going into now? So what they're wanting is, clarity around their future, moving into what that looks like for them and what's meaningful at this point. What they're needing is sometimes a little bit of courage and confidence going into that future because they've been in build mode. It's like we talked about in the beginning. They've been in build, in churn, in burn, in, constant go, go, go. So they're looking for that accountability partner to help take them through to this next level. And what they end up getting and going through the dream architect process and what we're doing here for people, they're getting an advocate. They're getting, again, going back to that blueprint and how to move forward, a sense of community and connection, because it can be a lonely island. You've built $100 million company, $1 billion company. It becomes maybe difficult to relate in some capacities to the people that you've maybe been around for a really long time. And they're also looking for resources. And I think that's going to pivot us really well into the third pillar. But they're looking for resources that maybe, not a lot of people have access to. And that's something that we're helping people or helping provide people with.
Yep. So what pops into my head as I listen to you is there's a new purpose, an upgraded purpose oftentimes requires a new identity. And just being in that, the fact that you can guide someone in and say, okay, well, from 0 to 10 is a completely different identity than the 11 to 100 million. And then from 100 million to $1 billion, totally different identity, different connections, many different relationships. And also, why is it lonely at the top? Why is it difficult for celebrities, for example, to be celebrities? It's because someone always wants something from you, or, let's say you reach that point where you can do anything. Well, you can't play with your old playmates unless you're the one footing the bill. That completely changes the caliber and quality of the relationships. Or the other side is for the founder who has their exit, has total financial freedom, and is sitting around and realizes, I just lost my purpose and my old identity isn't going to serve me anymore. So
it really requires mindset shifts, as you progress. And so that's, one of the things that we help them with.
That's great. Okay. So pillar number 3, what do we got?
Well, pillar number 3 would be health and longevity. And we started out with a story about our client that had the dream board, and fortunately, they were able to accomplish all those things.
Yeah.
But
so the health scare comes along, which could have derailed it, but they had checked off the boxes, and fortunately, they're still good.
They're still very good. But you want to make sure that several things, being in some of the courses and classes that we attend, we are so fortunate to understand and get exposed to like the latest, greatest medical developments. And some of the people that are in the actual classes that we're in are the leading, body scan, the leading longevity people, the leading sleep doctors. And if you go to your local doctor, a lot of times they're not even going to be aware that these techniques are available. So we want people to be aware of these options so that if something pops up, maybe you just don't go do that surgery and, you look for some other options. And, health is so important. I have a saying that really resonates with me. It's, he who has his health has 1,000 wishes, and he who doesn't has one.
Right.
And so you want to not be that one person. And so
with the one wish.
The one wish, yeah. So, Brittany, any other thoughts on?
Yeah. I think at this point, a lot of us have heard this saying before about the 1,000 wishes versus the one. But here's the problem is that people know that they're maybe not making the greatest choices for their life, or they maybe know that there could be some brewing underlying health issue, but what aren't they doing? They're not taking action. So part of these professionals and the people that we can help put in front of people, it actually forces them into action.
Right.
And I mean, Mike, you've shared so many different stories about how you're able to impact and save people's lives because of these connections. It makes a difference. And the taking action is what differentiates life and death.
Yeah,
if you want to
sure.
just put it bluntly.
Well, and just the story you shared today. So I don't mean to get you emotional, but a good friend of yours that you introduced him to this leading body scan gentleman, and they found something and literally saved his life yesterday.
Yeah. No, literally, not even an hour before we began here, I got this message. So the backstory is I had introduced them. It's the same people you're working with. And we live in a sick care system. You have to be sick before the doctors are going to help you. And the time to take care of stuff is before you're symptomatic. By the time you're symptomatic, you're probably screwed, especially if you got tumors in you. Or in my case, when I had stage 3 colorectal cancer, I had blood coming out of my rear end. And I just about lost all my parts and my life. And fortunately, I had great care. But if I wouldn't have had great care, the bottom line is if I would have met this guy even probably 6 months or a year before, I wouldn't have gone through advanced surgery, losing half my guts, chemo, and radiation, which is horrible. So, a buddy of mine connects with me, says he's got this, he notices the problem. I hook him up with the body scan professional, and I get a message today. It's like, we found something. I won't just talk about it. We got the HIPAA business going on, but the net is, I know for a fact he saved his life. And that couldn't have happened. It just couldn't have happened through the traditional care program. And for you guys, when you're able to introduce someone to a multitude of professionals who spot things before it happens, before you get in trouble, what's the greatest thing you can give to your clients? It's longevity, high quality health. And so that's my story. And I was very emotional a couple of minutes ago because I met this guy in Greece the day I met my wife. So to lose him would be just, it'd be incredibly painful. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
That's all right. That's all right.
I just thought it was appropriate.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right. Well, what do you got for the want, need, get? Talk a little bit about what you're doing with health.
Yeah. So, and I think, Mike, to bring this into the want, need, get, if you think about all of this, the wealth doesn't matter. The purpose doesn't matter if you're not focusing on the you, the being that actually operates and does these things.
True.
So what people are looking for is they want vibrancy. They want to live a vibrant life. They want to live pain-free. They want to stay mobile. And if you think about it, you can't do a whole lot laying in a hospital bed or laying in a room on your back all day. And they also don't ever want to be a burden to their loved ones. So when you think about this care, I mean, that's really, it kind of teeters between the want and the need.
Right.
So what people are needing in order to get through this and to, embrace the knowledge, they're needing knowledge, they're needing information. They got to understand the resources because they're not getting it from your traditional care sick system. And what they're able to get through this whole process is access to these specialists, because these people are not always easily accessible if you're just Joe Blow off the street and you go knock on the door. So access to specialists, opening the door to possibilities. They're getting true diagnostics that they can actually act upon. They have options, they have longevity, and they're getting a blueprint. So we keep using this term blueprint. It ties so well into
shows
the
up
dream
all
architect.
in every pillar so far, for sure.
It does, and it's a necessity.
Let's move on. What's pillar number 4?
Pillar 4 would be legacy.
Yeah. And I think Mr. Sweet here, I want him to give an actual example that's personal here. Something about your mom, right?
Oh,
What have you done?
Well, thank you, Brittany. So one of the things that I wanted to do to maybe leave a legacy for my mom for all the sacrifice and things that she has done, but also do it at a point where she saw the benefit, is I've created a foundation where I help single moms who have kids going to college. And we fund several college tuitions every year. And the great thing is my mom's still with us today. And we've takes the kids to lunch, get to know them. My mom gets to know them. And, you know, it's kind of like an extended family, and we know we're making a difference. And so it's just a little way of giving back, but it's also helping others that have been in a similar, you know, situation. But the thing that is most impactful, a lot of times people will do charitable things and they'll wait till they maybe pass on and they don't see the benefits. We've been very fortunate to just see the changes we've made in young people's lives and the help we can give single moms that probably are, you know, busting their tails and don't have the resources to maybe do as much as they'd like to for their children, and we're able to be very helpful.
Yeah.
There's a big part in there that we got to pull out that actually it goes back to the health and longevity thing, is that when Brian started this, it was before his mom started having a mental decline and suffering with dementia. So think about this. He is a wealthy individual who has built success for himself, who took the time to actually put this in place while his mom was still able and willing to see the impact of it. That's different. And that's the kind of legacy to really focus on and leave.
Yeah.
So I think we needed to pull that part out of it.
Whoop, whoop. Nice job. Nice job. Well, and I think part of the reason I really wanted to get your why story is, you know, you see the impact. So, you know, when you think about, in my experience, successful, happy people who live a life of impact, when their core why, which is often trauma-based, in your case, you know, both of you have some traumatic childhoods. There's more to it than just what you talked about, I know, which often leads to what becomes your purpose, but it also gets tied into legacy. And that's a common thread that I've seen in almost every successful person I've ever worked with.
You're dead on with what you're saying there, Mike. And I think it's that whole mantra, and we've all heard this, but life happening for you versus to you. And that's where you can create an impactful legacy. And that's where we'll get into some of this, you know, want, need, and get. Just go for it. Impact.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I was going to say, it made me think of another client, a really good friend of mine, who he's always been very charitable, but he also has certain things that he loves to do. So one of the things that he loves is motorhomes, and really nice motorhomes. And
he showed me a picture.
Yeah, it's
very nice.
It's pretty amazing. I've been fortunate to be on it several times. But he loves to travel, and they love to camp, but the thing that really resonates with me with him is he's done lots of charitable things, but the use of the motorhome, which is something he enjoys, he has several times taken it to places where they've had a hurricane or a tornado. And he is a building contractor, and he was able to help out by giving resources, getting free materials, but he had a place to stay. And so just, you know, his legacy where he can do something he enjoyed and at the same time help others, you know, is kind of a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that goes into the wants. When you look at very successful people that are looking at their legacy, they want control. They want to be aware of the dangers that could essentially throw everything they've worked for completely off course. They want stewardship. They want to feel in a state of gratitude and knowing. And if you want to go to the technical route, you could also say they want to understand the charitable intent, both while they're alive and past that point. And also looking at, of course, tax reduction, because I think everybody'd rather give it to a cause than give it to
total
Uncle
triple
Sam.
win. Total triple win. Yeah, exactly. Keep it out of the government's hands. And if you can control and go direct to the people, it's efficient. It just makes sense. Any good libertarian-minded entrepreneur is going to agree with you there. All right.
Yeah. So then we go into the needs, and what people are really needing is they need guidance, they need knowledge, they need resources, and they've got to have the expertise.
Yeah.
Because again, you go back to the tax thing, you don't know what you don't know. You've got to have people in your corner to help you execute in the way that's most effective. And again, what are they getting with this? It's a blueprint. We go back to that. But if you don't have something to completely follow, to take action on, it makes the success a lot less likely. And if you think about this, the access to professionals through this, it's the who's that make the dreams come true. That's what's meaningful, and that's what matters. It helps you get to the core of your values, and it helps you really create an integrated solution so that you're doing the things that matter.
Yeah. And there's so many great ways that are tax beneficial. So it means you pay less, serve more. And I love going back to what you did, Brian, is you can do this before you're dead, right? So it's like having the impact now with all the benefits. And that requires, that in itself is a full-time job for 3 people. And an enormous amount of education and understanding tax laws and where things go and what the possibilities are, even thinking about, most people have never even thought about what kinds of possible things that are absolutely legal and improve the quality of lives of everyone. And like going back to the RV thing. So imagine you could go on vacation, someone else would provide supplies, and you could change some lives or help some lives at the same time. I don't see a downside to that.
Sounds like a home run to me.
Right on. Okay. Well, let's go back to, we've been talking all about, the core, the tagline of what Dream Architect's all about. And that leads us to pillar number 5. So who's going to take that one?
Go ahead, Brittany. I'll interject later.
All right.
All right. So up to this point, we just kind of wrapped up legacy. And the question to ask yourself is, what would you do right now if you never had to do anything again? Money was no object. So it's all about wants versus needs at this point. If we could compress the years into days, if we could put together, really cool people with really cool experiences, get stuff done. We talked about taking action on health, but what about all this other stuff? Exposing people to brand new wealth creation and preservation strategies. We asked the question of, what if we could do interactive, immersive workshops, experiences, things like that could create connection, not just with other people, but you and your spouse coming together. A lot of times what happens is people create this massive amount of success, and you'll have either one couple, spouse who's highly focused, highly driven by that success, and you kind of go these different paths, or you get both of you who are creating and forging your own paths, but where do you come back together?
Yeah. Values conflict is really what it comes down to. That's so important. Exactly. I always call it values velocity. You both have to have the same values moving in the same direction at the same time.
Yeah.
We're really on the same page with that. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So you have to ask yourself the question. It's like, what if you could go on a trip where you have access to these longevity and these health experts, and you're, completely immersed, and you're getting these cool experiences. That's what experiences really are. And that's what the Dream Architect life is as a whole. So when we talk about experiences, again, that's why we emphasize it's not just some cool trip that was on your bucket list. It's so much more than that. So what people are wanting here, it's memories, it's fulfillment, it's quality time, and maybe a little bit of bragging rights. You're getting access to the people that maybe not everybody can get in front of or get around. And people are really needing here exposure to even bigger ideas. We get caught in our own inertia. We get too close to our own stuff. So I think that's something that is not just a need, it's like a necessity across the board. It's a bigger word. They're wanting and needing community. And what ends up happening through immersions like this, people are getting amazing friendships and connection. They're getting those memories that they strive for, and they're getting transformational experiences, which is bigger than, again, that bucket list trip that you're checking off the wall, pulling off the vision board.
I love it.
Yeah, life is all about creating memories. And if you can create memories with people that have like and similar thought processes and meet some more people that are just like you, what a great thing to have happen to you.
So good. I can't tell you how much I'm in absolute total agreement. For example, this last weekend, I did a workshop, a couples workshop with my wife. And one thing that we really realized after being married now 21 years is we are 100% on a values compatible level. And we just don't argue. We don't have fights. And both of us have big personalities, so both of us can be a giant pain in each other's minds and rear ends. and so, but it takes that, I think, having guidance and resources and a workshop and upgraded relationships. And that's something like, Brian, you've been doing this for a long time. I know you talk about, you've got travel companion buddies who are all values. You guys have made tons of money together. You play together. The spouses get together. And Brittany, you guys have been architecting, like, how do we get the most done? How do we deliver 10, 20, 30 years worth of mental experience, transferring all this wisdom, knowledge, huge databases of connections, contacts, upgrade the identity, upgrade the operating system for the couples, right? Not just the individual. Individuals work too. And how much faster you can get what you have. And again, everyone comes in thinking, well, I need the money first. It's got to be about the money. And it's like, well, you know what? So you get to the finish line and you don't have your knees, or you've had a heart attack and half your heart's gone, or you lose a lung because, again, the sick care system didn't detect it until it was already too late. Comments, thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of thoughts and comments there,
okay.
But we actually put together a resource that I think would be great for people to be able to get the information, get the access. So you go to dreamarchitect.com. You can get a free copy of our new Dream Architecture book that Mr. Mike just held.
All right, here we go. Look at that.
Beautiful.
I love that cover.
I know, it's pretty. Well done.
Serenity and peace. And then also take our Dream Architect Pillar Assessment to really figure out what matters most to you in living your life of no regrets. What matters to you might be different than me, might be different than Mike, might be different than Brian. So it's about that self-identification.
Yeah, and the pillar assessment might help you determine, gee, I didn't realize I maybe need a little work in that one area, and that gives you something that you can work on right away that would help you move your bigger future forward sooner.
I love it. I love it. And you guys have put together the Dream Architect experience, the Dream Architect life. And so what you've got on the landing page is a video that we've made that describes what the experience is like through multiple points of view. So for folks who want to learn a little bit more, again, go to dreamarchitect.com, get the free book. Well done. Learn more about the programs, and then there's an application on there too. Is there anything else about who's a right fit for this, and who loves this experience, who are going to benefit most?
Yeah, so even we can start with the money, because we started with the money talk at the beginning of this. But typically, you've had an event in your life where you've got ranging between 10 million to a billion or upwards in your net worth. You're looking at people who want to get access to best of the best. Brian mentioned earlier, we've got top full body scan authority coming in there. We've got people who are focused on life extension, like the best of the best, the top sleep doctors in the world. And really, if you think about some of the other topics that you're going to encounter there, you're looking at taxes, tax efficiency, things that just aren't being talked about on the day to day. Obviously, there will be some, investing topics, but again, not in the boring sense, in the sense of, bringing brilliant people to the table that you probably don't even know exist.
Yeah.
Legacy and planning. Brian, I'm sure that you could highlight some of the other things too that people are going to experience.
Yeah, as we do these events, what's going to happen is we will discuss and have some expert that will collaborate with us that's world class talk on each of the 5 pillars. But there'll be like an emphasis on maybe one area that we'll go really deep on just for the sake of time. And, we were talking about health and longevity. One of the things about like this body scan scenario where it just saved your friend's life, 80% of all adults that are over 40 have some asymptomatic disease or health condition that they're not even aware of. So wouldn't it be nice if you could have this process that would actually tell you in advance before it had some really bad outcome in your life? And so we want to bring things like that to people to help them not experience pain and agony. And that's just one example for the health and longevity part.
Yeah, and I think a huge differentiator here too is that it's not just information. You're not going to sit and watch in seminar style a bunch of people yak all day. We do it workshop style, and it's really, I guess, integrative. We get stuff done while we're together so that you are actually taking action versus, okay, great, this is a great bunch of information and I know I want to get all this done, but then you take it back and you don't do it. You see and experience a transformation with your significant other, with the person that you're doing this life with, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
There's assessments, there's experiences. You walk away from this with it all being complete. And the really cool part, which I may be a little bit biased towards, is that it's in really great locations, incredible locations, bucket list experiences, places that you can immerse yourself and actually get that thing checked off the bucket list.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to make this, or does make it, just so fun.
Yeah, there's some really great locations we're planning on having, and so excited about that. So it's, as you alluded to, Brittany, one of those things you can check off your bucket list if it's, someplace you wanted to attend. It'll be, all over the country. And so looking forward to that.
Yeah. And really it's about the people. It's about the community. And that's what gets people excited to come, is who you're going to be around. Coming for the experience. I mean, that's really what gets you there. But staying and actually following through with the whole few days, it's because of the people. It's because of the relationships and the friendships. And you walk away with that. It's not just transactional in nature. You're building lifelong connections.
Yeah. And you'll meet some amazing people that will absolutely become lifelong friends that you would have never imagined those opportunities happening before. So that's going to be one of the other side benefits.
Yeah. I love it. Well done. Let's tell people where to go one more time, and then get some final words from both of you, because this is a lot of fun. I think, first of all, this is the kind of thing that I want to do. I've been doing things, but not quite like this, because it hasn't had the financial legacy aspects. The fact that it's integrated is very unusual. And part of it is someone has to have the experience you guys have to be, first of all, trustworthy and make it matter. And if it weren't for the fact that you've had so much exposure, both of you, to so many experts and authorities, because you're immersed. You guys invest an enormous amount of money every day in coaching. And without that level of access, that level of commitment, you could pull off something like this.
Yeah, so easy way, again, dreamarchitect.com. Get your free copy of the book. Take the Dream Architect Pillar Assessment. I love the model. Take the pillar assessment and really identify where your values are. And I guess my biggest thing is, you think about walking away from an immersion like this, you're getting amazing experience, deeper relationships, resources, tools, connections, certainty. And I think that's what so many of us want these days, is certainty towards our future.
Yeah.
Totally agree. After 43 years of helping people with their wealth and management, my quest is, in the remaining years I do this, is to deliver that next experience that really helps people live better lives. And it's something that really we've so experienced so many times that when done in the right way and having a guiding force to help you actually complete the things that are important to meet all your dreams and goals, what happens after you've done that is just remarkable. And so we're excited to be able to add those components and take this to the next level.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been a total blast. I've loved spending a couple days with you guys prior to this. It's great knowing you. It's been fun to play together. And I'm looking forward to many more and attending the event, the Dream Architect Life Experience and Events. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, you should probably share this interview with your spouse right now and get them excited to get on the same page. Because if you don't have the same values velocity, this is the first step. Of course, head over to Dream Architect, grab the book. Very good. Do the assessment and also get the bonus video where you'll learn even more about what the Dream Architect Life is all about. So with that, thank you, both of you.
It's been a pleasure, Mike.
Woohoo.
Thank you.
Let's say goodbye to everyone.
See ya.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Yep. And this is Capability Amplifier. My name is Mike Koenigs. So great to spend some time with you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in another episode very soon. Bye-bye.